This is Vigalantee, the hip-hopologist for ReasonForRhymes.com in your black world. And right now I got a real good friend of mine, our brother that's out there doing his thing. This is Mr. Ed Cakes. Say hello to the audience, my brother.
Hey, how you doing, brother? It's good to talk to you, man. So it's a good honor to be on the show, man. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it too, man. I thank you for your, for your time to come out to speak with me on some hip hop issues and stuff. But first of all, let the audience know exactly what you do and that good stuff, because you do a lot, man.
Well, thanks, brother. I have a marketing communications agency out of Atlanta, Georgia. We focus on digital marketing and media solutions for our customers. We work with clients like Wells Fargo, CVS, Caremark. We also work with Delta Airlines and providing a variety of marketing services. We also work with several nonprofit organizations. We just worked on the Trumpet Awards, the recent recording that will be broadcast in Easter. And it's a fantastic award show that honors African Americans for excellence. And so we manage all the PR, the website revision, all the marketing and PR for that project. And it was a fantastic honor. So basically, I'm a marketing advertising guy at heart. I also write for a number of magazines. I've just completed an interview with Steve Harvey. It'll be the summer cover story for Savoy. But you know, I'm a simple guy just trying to make it out there in this hustle, bro. You know.
No doubt, yeah. And Savoy's pretty big, my bro.
Savoy's a great magazine, you know. It's really
yeah, I got it. It's a good look, man. It's definitely a good look. So let me ask you a question. Now, we said this world of hip-hop. First of all, what is your take, if you know anything about it? We'll start off. I don't want to dominate this with Lil Wayne because there's more I want to talk to you about, but what is your take on Lil Wayne and the Emmett Till comment that happened? Now, do you
know, I think we're going to just start at Emmett Till. We're going to do the whole NBA thing, too. But, you know,
yeah. If I get to just go ahead. You know, I want you to be free.
You know, I think I respect Lil Wayne as an artist. You know, and I have to cautiously say that because I think that nowadays there is this liberal idea of, you know, respecting an artist doesn't mean that it's okay for them to act a fool. So let me preface with that. Okay, so I remember when Lil Wayne first said in a rhyme, "I'm the greatest rapper alive since the greatest rapper retired," and thinking, what? Lil Wayne? No. And then he appeared on like 85 features in the next 3 months. It seemed like he was everywhere. It was almost like The Secret was applied, you know, that he was really kind of like making his dream come true, and he really was getting it in, and he made some really hot tracks. Now, I think that he's also maybe is a fantastic financial backer. I mean, you know, you can say a lot of things about Birdman, but he's a savvy businessman, and you know, he has groomed Wayne to work and play in the studio. And I think when he does that very well, he produces massive content to work. So I think, you know, he produces some hits. Now, you know, I think that I saw a little bit more lyrical energy and complex composition right after he got out. You know, I think that he was a little hungrier when that fire in the belly kind of receded. So I think as an artist, you know, I have a lot of respect for him. Now, I think that from a business perspective, Truck Fit is a brilliant idea. I think that you've got African-American kids around the country playing on a skateboard. That's fantastic. There's a build-up coming. But I think that the whole Emmett Till thing is irresponsible sensationalism in hip-hop. I think that I don't expect rappers to be role models. I think if you just look at the general content of what's out and what's being said in hip-hop, it's not inspiring. It's not edutainment. It's good to dance to. It's you know, got some great beats, but you can't look for it for guidance for our youth or our children, so you can't expect that. But what I would hope to, at least to be able to expect, is a bare minimum of human decency, that we have reverence for things like historic leaders that had very graphic, brutal deaths that spurred a civil rights movement that changed the way that we were respected, or the value of black life got recognition on a different level because of the way his mother sacrificed and allowed for that open casket to take place and it be photographed, and people not to forget and remember what had happened to her son. To be so irresponsible with that and play with that as it relates to kind of lyrics and hip-hop, I think is really kind of frivolous abuse of art for me. You know, do I think that he has the right to have the freedom to do that? Absolutely. As an artist, I think that's an important part of art form. But I think when you start to abuse things, just, you know, just for sensationalism, or maybe it's ignorance. Not ignorance from stupidity, but ignorance in that maybe Lil Wayne doesn't completely understand the complexity of Emmett Till. I'd like to think that that's maybe the case. Because if he did know all the complexities of Emmett Till's death and what it meant to us as African-American people, and still made the choice to use that irreverent reference as it relates to the activity he had in that song, then I have a big concern about Lil Wayne's judgment. But I'd like to think that he just doesn't know. And more importantly, I think it was absolutely the right thing to pull that track. But I think there's I think I'm not asking you to be a role model, but I'm not asking you to be a pariah of society and just completely demean things that mean a lot to us as African-American people. But that's it. You know, I've bought your albums. I've enjoyed your music, but, like, I don't need that. You know, so that's what I say about that. But then, you know, you look at what's happened recently with this All-Star thing, and, you know, it's like they need to book some more studio time because Wayne's wilding out. You know what I mean? You know, it's just irreverent, excessive, over the top, the world, YOLO, middle fingers up to the NBA, D-Wade, and then, you know, the disrespect as it relates to the whole Chris Bosh comment.
Yeah,
we're talking about crazy. We're talking about the most basal of information that you could share, right?
Exactly.
Now, I'm not trying to make Lil Wayne a gentleman. Lil Wayne is who he is, and he has the right to do that. But I do have a concern as it relates to, you know, where we're just kind of turning things. And, you know, I just think that this, you know, if I were doing PR and marketing, I'd be like, let's really focus on Carter 4, you know, or, you know, or is it Carter 4 now? Carter 5, I can't remember. So let's focus on the next project. Let's focus on the next tour. Let's build up YMCMB. Let's look at that next class of YMCMB with Flo and you know, and everybody else is coming across, you know, after that first class of YMCMB. Let's lock this down. Let's do some deals. Let's get more of those $50 million Pepsi deals for Nicki Minaj, and let's push Drake and that started on the bottom of that OVO. Let's do that, but, like, to get Wayne on stage just wilding out, you know, like, I think that there's a great point. You know, I think you probably heard the whole Donkey of the Day comment with
Charlamagne. Yeah.
Right. You know, it's true. You know, I mean, I think it shouldn't matter that he's getting recognition on the side of the court, right? But, you know, that happens. People desire those things. But either way, you know, I think that Wayne as an artist, you know, you can do too much and be out there too much. We get it. You're free-spirited. You can say what you want. You're not a role model. But I just think from a civility and humanity standpoint, there's some things that just don't need to be said. Less is definitely more in most cases.
I agree wholeheartedly. And that's the thing. But so as a PR person, do you feel that he can recover from this? Is there any way to recover? Because as of now, at least as of date, he hadn't even issued an apology towards the family yet. You know, L.A. Reid did his thing and the labels did theirs, but not really issued an apology, almost like shrugging it off. I just think that, you know, maybe he don't care about the public, what they think, and like he's passing out by, you know, these rappers always saying that they don't snitch, but that's a big form of snitching to me, is for him to say that about this man's wife, and then I don't know if you know, Cameron ended up talking about my other friend had, you know, Miss Bosh, you know, years ago under her wing. So you get a bunch of these guys that talk about snitching and stuff to the point that rap, the art that I love the most, is becoming like wrestling to me. Just a bunch of people talking, trying to get the camera on them.
Right. Yeah, I think there's you know, the whole rock star mentality of hip hop is a fairly new phenomenon. You know, because hip hop was about gully streets, underground. You know, like it wasn't about the flossing. It was about the abilities. It was about the skills. It was about the beat. It was about the dancing. It was about the beatboxing. It was about the rapping. It was about the graffiti. It was, you know, it was the pillars of hip hop that are what hip hop is, right? So I get it. It's, you know, you're rich, you got money, but I think that, you know, from a PR perspective, if I were to come in and say, what can we do about this? I would, you know, I think you have to really think about, does Wayne want to apologize? If he wants to apologize and he feels that's something he wants to do, then I think that's the first step. But I don't know that I would feel, from what I'm seeing, that he feels like an apology is necessary, right? Because I think sincerity is the most important part of an apology. I would highly recommend that there is some kind of activity to offset the negativity that has come from those comments. So if there's not an apology, then let's find a way for you to really support some civil rights activities. Maybe it's supporting the UNCF and for some additional scholarships. Maybe it's, I know he's done some great public works as it relates to building up parks in New Orleans, right? More of those activities need to be balanced with the kind of sensational stuff that's going across Twitter and blowing up social media. So, I think that asking him to apologize, I think, it'd be the right thing to do, but I think you have to really think about it. It's going to be heartfelt and sincere. And is it more of just a symbolic gesture, or is it truly a sign of feeling regret? So, I would really take a consideration to because the other part you got to think about is he may apologize for that, but he's got new albums coming out. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You know what Wayne raps like. He's not extremely yoked. He's gonna spit fire flames and talk about everything under the sun. So I think that you have to think about from that perspective of you can't button him up on a suit and tie and say I apologize for the Emmett Till. That's not going to happen, right? But I think that maybe, I would consider him to talk about it a little bit more. Maybe if you were to say, have some conversations and say in the conversation, I've had some discussions and I realized that it was inappropriate for me to say that. And I apologize to the family of Emmett Till if they were offended. That was not intended. That would be best case scenario. I don't think that's going to happen, though.
No, I don't think it is at this point. He might well go ahead and ride with it. I think, in his warped mindset, I think he might think that goes more into his bad boy persona. He said, even when he said he was the new Tupac, after he left, the game, with the Miami thing. So I think these people, instead of trying to be Tupac, be the best Lil Wayne, and Tupac was more about revolution. Like I tell rappers all the time, everybody wants to be the Tupac, the thug Tupac, but nobody wants to be the Tupac that was talking about change and, and injustice. They want to be the one side of Tupac and not the rest of it. So it's kind of crazy.
The other part is that Tupac was an original, and it's very hard to emulate an innovator, right? So it's going to be really hard for someone to come behind Steve Jobs and say, I am going to be the next Steve Jobs, because he was such an original person. Same thing with Tupac. Same thing with Biggie. I think that there's some people that you can obviously say they were your influences or you respect them. I think we're at a point in hip-hop that it's okay and no one is less of a rapper by paying homage to rappers that they respect or influence them. Every other art form of music and R&B, you hear people talk about, R. Kelly will say Charlie Wilson was an influence. Eddie Riley might have said, Aaron Hall said Charlie Wilson's an influencer. That's respectable. There's a time back in the day it was like, oh, you bite my style. But now you got rappers that are 45, 50, 60 years old that truly laid a foundation. When do we show them that reverence and respect and, get over ourselves and say it's okay for that influence? So anyway,
exactly.
I think that as it relates to, I think that there's an opportunity for, us to just kind of, grow up. In some of these things, I understand he has a market share. I understand there's a whole anti-disestablishment, hipster, skater, independent thing. I get it. I feel it. I got it. Fantastic. But there should be some judgment there. I'm familiar with Cortez Bryant's work, and I think that he as a manager has done some great things with the artists that he has. I would love to see Wayne's progression continue to grow forward. It's just, when you have completely said, forget an entire division of major sports that means a lot to your base of audience. Exactly. I think you got to think, what are you doing to your customer base at that point? Do you think people that listen to Lil Wayne don't like the NBA? Why would you think that? Are we going to suddenly have people like, I'm done with the NBA. I'm all about skateboarding now, right? That may happen. But why can't it be both? Why can't it be
Exactly.
like, okay, with the NBA, why can't it love skateboarding and, we move on, so.
Okay, that's a good perspective, especially because you're in the business, so you would know how you would attack that situation to try to make it better. Let's get on to some good old hip hop. So, who you think? I just like to get your perspective. Who do you think is the greatest rapper of all time? I do this on Reason for Rhymes Facebook page where we go in on who's the best MC of all time, best lyricist, and it's been a debate with me and some of the people from ReasonForRhymes.com. So I'd like to know, who do you think is the greatest MC of all time?
You just want me to give you one name? Or do you want me
you can give me three. I'm allow you to give me three.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That made it look good. All right. So I define greatest rappers of all time, and then sometimes it's greatest rapper for a period of time. But I think, for me, Rakim comes to the top of the list for me. Only because when he was in his mode and he was doing his thing lyrically, he brought a precision and lyrical maturity and just, he really brought that voice of hip hop, like, that was just spitting, thinking of a master plan. Those are signature. He had so many pieces that were really just. So I think that in his time and in his day when he was putting out fantastic work, Rakim is up. I think Biggie as well. Biggie was not the greatest freestyler, but he could write lyrics and rhymes that I think will, if you look at Ready to Die, that was, that's a complete body of work from the song one to the last song in the album. It was
dope album.
Great. It was a dope album, something from beginning to end. So I think that's something that means a lot. And I think he was able to evolve and grow his style from the Party and BS days to what he was, at the end when he was, like hypnotized. There was an evolution of his style, the more the big pop laid back middle, right? So Biggie be up there for sure. And then I have to say, as much as just on straight ability, like not Illuminati conspiracy theories or anything like that, you have to give Jay-Z his due. He's 40-something years in the game, and he's really still trend-setting. He's set a lot of trends in both lyrical styles and originality. I think no one would really refute his lyrical composition ability, although some question. I think that he's truly got a talent for it. And at this point, these kind of guys in the game, he's done it over 10,000 hours and is truly a master of the art form. And so I think as far as albums, some albums I like more than others. The Black album I thought was fantastic. I thought the American Gangster motif thing, it was special, but I wasn't really feeling all of it. But I think over the years, go to a concert by Jay-Z and listen to that battery of music, and you just hit after hit. So I'd say those three would probably be my top three.
Your top three, okay. I agree with you with your three, Biggie, Jay-Z, and Rakim. Those are good guys to put there. Me, myself, the person that I think everybody's forgotten about, and this guy has been kicking it even longer than Jay-Z, and he's 40-something years old, may not be as prevalent music side as he was, but since 1984, LL Cool J is hard as hell. LL Cool J, LL Cool J to me, it said people seem to forgot this 16-year-old person in Crush Groove that said box and began to rap and began to dominate, hip hop for as long as he did, and always was consistent, in his music. And I also think that
he more though, Roger. I want to ask, but can he still do it? That's the question. I agree.
I think he can.
You do or don't?
I think he can. I think that the authentic hip hop is going to be the proof of it. I heard the song when he got with Joe, real prevalent song, up to date song, good song. I think he still can do it. I think LL, because you got to remember, we're forgetting about the ladies zone that LL had. As long as LL can appeal to the women, he will always be around. You know what I'm saying? Because even Jay-Z them adjusted their style to me to LL style. What I mean by that, Jay-Z had bars, but then he started doing girls, songs that was more dedicated to get a lot of women in. You know what I'm saying? You know, like, what do you say, 30s is the new 20s or something like that. 30s is the new 20. He is a lot of LL influence in a lot of these rappers today. You know what I'm saying? But I think LL does not get his props because everybody just made him. You think about it, LL battled MCs when they came against him. He did the love songs. He rocked the house in live concerts. If you ever seen one, the guy never gets tired. I watched him do about 13 to 14 songs in a row and not even drink water.
Right.
You know, so
right.
I thought, yeah.
I mean,
so,
I agree. He just fit he's making that good Hollywood money. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
his eye isn't really on the music game as much as I think those of us who believe he still has it would like to see.
Yeah.
I got to give an honorable mention to Nas because he's still.
It's time for him to get his. Yeah, I think it's time for him. And I'm gonna get killed for this, but it's time for him to actually start making Rakim move over a little bit because Rakim, he's the God MC. Everybody knows that. But let me tell you something about Nas. Nas has been consistent since 1991.
He should have.
Yeah,
that last album he put out, I was inspired. I was like, hip hop. I felt like hip hop was back. That last album, he had enough of a respect. He knows his core and his audience, and he gave you such a great package of that 90s boom bap when he was like, you know, this is from my Lost in the 90s. You know, that was I'm that dude.
And see, that's what he did. And I think that Nas is up there. I think it's time for him to get his respect for being up there. Rakim, it was dope. He changed. I mean, Microphone Fiend, moved the crowd. You can name it. That Paid in Full album, Father Leader album, where he sped his flow up a little bit. Definitely dope. But I'm thinking, you know,
it wasn't until he did that cut with Dre. What was it? What's the name of that song that he did? That R&B thing where he did that 16 bars. It was really what's her name?
I can't. Yeah, I know you're talking about too. I can't think of the name of it.
I forget the name of it, but it was like that one. It was an R&B cut that had that really dope beat that Dre produced, and it'll come to me. But he spit on there, and it was like, oh, Rakim's back, you know. And I bought every Rakim album that came out. I have, and I just keep pulling for him. But it's like, you know, the first albums, you know, I just don't believe that Eric B was the magic, right? You know, he was never the greatest scratcher of all time, but I mean, never was. I mean, I just wish that there was that consistency from Rakim because I think he has an incredible ability, and I think there's a desire, and there's a whole group of grandchildren that fathered this, you know, he fathered this style, you know, he is the source for that whole range of style and MC that's prevalent.
I agree, and I think to a certain extent, LL is too. LL was, remember, the first one to put the chain on, how the champagne in his hand, the women, the cars. And remember, when LL did it, Walking with a Panther album, when he did that, you got to remember, he got booed for it. And then next thing you know, Bling Bling and all that stuff was in.
Right.
So I think LL is the most unique character of hip hop that does not get the respect. He didn't even make it to the Hall of Fame.
Not yet.
Not yet, but I think he's the first ballot. He should have never been passed over. If you're gonna put Public Enemy in and you're gonna put Run DMC in, you gotta put LL in.
I agree.
You just got to. It's a sin. Or better yet, I think hip hop needs his own Hall of Fame.
Oh, agreed. I mean,
it's big enough now. You know what I'm saying?
I think it is fantastic that hip hop artists are being recognized into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Great.
Yep.
But you know, it's a bit like saying we're gonna take a lacrosse player and put him in the Football Hall of Fame. They're not the same sports. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a sport, yes, but from a hip hop perspective, I think it'd be important to have a Hall of Fame that truly recognizes it because there's so much. I mean, it's truly a culture. It's truly something that has transcended the African American roots. It is not just ours anymore. There are artists that are contributing around the world to a lot of different parts of it. And I think to have it celebrated in a way that really does it well. You know, I think the VH1 Hip Hop Honors was a really respectable.
It's great move. Yeah.
It is. And I think, now for me, the BET Hip Hop Awards, the Cyphers have emerged as one of the most creative platforms for exposing current and new talent, and I think that's really refreshing, but I think that there's some ways that we need to give it more respect because, look at me, I'll say it, I'll be 41 this year, right? Hip-hop is a soundtrack of music to my life. When I'm going to meetings with clients or I have big projects and obstacles, I'm playing What More Can I Say by Jay-Z, or I might be playing that new A$AP Rocky, or I might be playing that new Trouble Man. I have a variety of music that inspires me to do things. Well, a lot of times I'm going into a room with people that are definitely not going to listen to what I'm listening to when I'm listening to stuff that I've got it turned up. But that's what inspires my life. I believe in it. I've found myself a little bit less interested in some of the newer stuff, but I at the same time have a reverence for it. So
that's cool, man.
Hip-hop, you always love hip-hop.
You're right. It's hip-hop for life. And also, as we wind down, I say that Eminem don't have to get his respects, whether we like it or not, or some people like it or not. Bar for bar, Eminem will murder a lot of MCs. And I think KRS-One is another MC that he's proven to be timeless because he still can bust, and I'll put him up against any MC, even Rakim. I got a chance to hang out with Big Daddy Kane, and he wouldn't answer it for nothing. We hung out at the expo, and I asked him, who you think will win between him and Rakim, because at one time there was a little beef going on, but nobody never really put a response out towards each other about it. But he kind of smiled at me. I said, personally, I think you'll beat Rakim in a battle, like a smack type battle. I think Rakim is a great writer, but Big Daddy Kane got personality and wit and funny. Rakim will just be bar for bar hitting you, but and Kane can go bar for bar, and he can hit you with jokes and punchlines. So, and he just smiled. He said, he wouldn't give it to me. He wouldn't give it up though, but he smiled though, and that's all I need to know, because I think Kane would give Rakim that work in a smack type level. I don't know about song.
And that's you just brought up a great point. See, for me, what I would love to see in hip hop is like somebody put some money together and like really went big. Like take the smack format, but like let's get those legends and get them to battle. Like let's figure out. Okay, what amount of money would you get to see Nas and Jay-Z battle? Like,
exactly.
What's the number? Is it worth your while for $5 million? It is great. Nas, you too, great. Let's do it on March 22nd in Las Vegas. And just let it, and I think that it would be fantastic, or to see a Rakim and a Kane battle. I mean, what does
people will pay for it, man? It'd almost be like another sport, man. It'd be like a sport. People will actually come out and pay for that.
See, and that's the other part. I was at an event in Denver, Colorado in October, and Houdini performed. And I did not realize how many songs Houdini did that I knew every single word to until they performed. And to just see all three of them just not miss a beat, because they've been doing it forever. It's like, you see people going to the New Edition concert, like, they look great. I'd be like, well, look how long they've been doing it. Yeah, they look great. But these are professionals that have perfected their craft. They are professional entertainers. They know how to work the crowd. They know what of their sets works the best with their audience. And people that really care get better at it. They don't just get stale. They continue to evolve. So I think those are the things that kind of make you excited just to see those kind of performances from artists that we all love that are still relevant and can perform and still got it. But it's just thinking about hip-hop differently. Now it's all about what's going to be popular on the radio and everything. But that's where it's on us to support those Smoking Groove tours and then the old school tours that come around and all the old school sets tours that come about. You got to support those artists when they come through, because that's how you keep them relevant.
I agree, and it's like, and sometimes we, in the African American community, we tend to kind of throw away our legends. Like you look at on the other side with rock, they go out and see Bon Jovi, they go out and see some of the old 80s bands and 70s bands, and you see the young kids there as well as the older audience there to see them because they have respect for their history. And I think we're letting a lot of our gems while they're living just go to waste, man. And we have to do part 2 of this, man, because I want to talk to you about the death of R&B. I'm doing something about R&B music that you think about when we was coming up, Ed. You saw a lot of people. We could name 30 groups. It could be female groups as well as male. New Edition, Silk, Mint Condition. You can name Brownstone, En Vogue, and all that. But now you can't name. I'll pay anybody to name 4 R&B groups right now that's current.
Right.
Your time is ticking. Besides Destiny Child at the Super Bowl, who in R&B, it's like we don't stop a great tradition that goes way back further, even further than the Temptation and Motown of soul group. To me, soul music, everybody's trying to do pop now, and I think R&B and soul music is dying.
Yeah, I agree. I look forward to doing that second part with you, brother.
Yes, all right. But before we go, let people know where they can find you at, Ed.
Absolutely. You can follow me on Twitter at Edward Cates. Also, you can find me on Facebook, facebook.com/Edward Cates. Our website is www.nuancemarketing.net. And really appreciate you talking to you, man. It's always like talking to a good friend, especially one that's informed. And thanks for what you're doing for hip-hop.
I appreciate it, brother. And like I said, I will get with you, too. This has been Vigalantee, the hip-hopologist for readingforrhymes.com, and also Your Black World. And we are out.